Weaver Roberta Morand is with me at the Textile Museum in Almonte. We are at the Coptic Dancers exhibition. Would you like to give us a definition of Coptic?
Coptic is usually associated with Egyptians in the 3rd to the 11th century. They were weavers of very fine material. The symbols and the colors in Coptic weaving were geared mostly to your station in society. Weaving in that time was tunics, long and short sleeves with embellishments, usually running vertical on the cloth. These pieces, the red piece here, that would be from a tunic. Other decorations, other weavings were used for usual household things. The materials that they used was mostly linen. Wool was introduced by the Romans, and they used wool for the design work. Silk was introduced from China, and so was cotton from India, but they really preferred the use of the linen and the wool. Now, some of these pieces, when they are brown, like these are brown, these would have been purple when they were new. The reason that we have these really good examples of Coptic weaving is because most of these were found in tombs in Egypt, where the atmosphere was very dry, non-acid, and so they did survive. As we all know, textiles do not last forever, so we are pleased that we can have these examples.
And these pieces that we see, they are part of a collection, a private collection?
Yes, they are. When the collection of Coptic textiles became very popular in the 1800s, then the antique dealers and the dealers, when they came across tunics and pieces of fabric, would cut out the designs so that they could actually sell more or make more money from one piece. So we don't often have very good examples of the actual clothing. And then sometimes, because the weaving of the designs was so labor intensive and they were so prized, that if the tunic or that they were worn on wore out, then the designs were cut out and sewn onto a new tunic.
The title of this exhibition is Coptic Dancers. Is it because most of the figures that we see, a lot of the figures that we see are dancers? Or?
Well, some of the figures are human form, and they all look like they're moving. So I would assume that was a nice title for those kind of figures. Now, it is interesting that the Egyptians invented an upright loom where they eventually put foot pedals on it so they could weave faster and better these very intricate designs.
These are women, I see.
Yes, and you can see by the position of the arms and the legs that there's obvious movement.
Yes.
Yeah. Now the dyes that they used were interesting too, because purple was very difficult to get. It was only gotten by a mollusk from Syria, and so it was reserved only for the highest people. But of course, like everybody else, everybody wanted to have purple, so they did figure out how to over dye blue and red.
This is a beautiful piece. I wanted to ask Mr. Rick Lancaster, is this the first exhibition of this size? You have quite a few pieces here.
Yeah, this is the first time we've ever shown any kind of Coptic textiles at the Textile Museum. And we're very excited to have this collection of Dirk Holters from the United States be showcased at the museum.
These are larger pieces.
Yes.
They must be hard to maintain.
Oh, they are
yes.
extremely. They, I think sometimes when we see, especially these large pieces, there is as much of them left as there is. You can actually fill in the design if you were an artist. Fill in the missing pieces.
Mr. Rick Lancaster, how long will this be here?
This will be up until mid-October.
Oh, so about 2 months.
Yes.
And this looks like a mythical animal here, like this animal in the middle.
Yes, and to me also, it looks like it has a lot of movement in it. And I think that the whole thing here would have been purple.
Well, in those times, people were not very sedentary, so I guess
Yeah.
everything was in motion.
Yes.
You gotta be.
Now these two over here, I think, are absolutely wonderful because of the color that is still there. The red would have been dyed from madder root, or a very small ant-like animal that lives in the desert, and it had to be a female of that species. Greens and blues were gotten from indigos, and yellow was gotten from almost any plant that would grow, can still dye those colors today.
And
But to have the colors last this long is amazing.
what about this piece here?
Well, this is a piece that would have been used as a decoration on a on clothing. It is, again, it does look very black, and it's hard to tell whether it was actually black. Black was such a hard dye to obtain. Again, it probably was a very dark purple that has faded out to black.
How do you feel about the people today? They don't seem to connect so well with weaving.
We're trying to change that. I mean, we're growing at our museum to change and get the world and local community to really understand weaving and really appreciate weaving. I mean, if you think of it, majority of our clothes are still woven, not in Canada anymore, but still woven. And to gain that appreciation of that it's everyday wear and everyone has this kind of technique in their clothing, maybe not quite to the beautiful detail of all this artwork we've seen today and historic pieces, but again, it is a part of our everyday lives.
Mr. Rick Lancaster, thank you so much, and thank you very, very much for helping me understand.
My pleasure.